We ready to go. It is Whatchu Spinnin, episode 59, which is one less than 60, which will be our last episode before we get into some hip-hop bracketology. We need a soundboard.
So fun. We do need a soundboard.
With lights, everything.
Yeah. And each person just takes a turn, like every episode, just rotates. That'd be sick. No, but before we get into hip-hop bracketology, we got 6 albums to talk about between now and then, and we're going to knock 3 of them out today, get them done and over with. 3 birds, 1 stone. As per usual, I'm your host, Dorian, joined by my cohorts, my colleagues, my partners, Jake and Matt. How we doing today, fellers?
You good?
Doing good? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Got the Oregon game today,
Yeah.
which we've all been watching and celebrating. And
Yes. Go Ducks, Oregon, Colorado. Fucking Neon Dion comes to town.
The prime time.
The prime time comes down to Eugene to get his ass beat.
I feel like it was like more busy than usual this week.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
a lot of prep.
I think maybe in part due to the game. Like yesterday was hella traffic.
Oh yeah, and
I bet today
But
too.
there's a few
it's
more
just like-
celebrities in town, too, I've heard.
yeah, today, like even over out by my place, it was hella busy. And I was thinking, because we're not, like, I was coming over to this side of town, and I was like, even told you on like Wednesday, I was like, dude, traffic's gonna suck, and you were like, no, it won't. You were right.
stay on this side of town?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
exactly.
Get closer to Albertsons? Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
We're screwed.
But yeah, go Ducks. But let's get this baby on the road, huh?
Let's do it.
Let's
Yeah.
do it. So to do that, we're gonna bring up Matt's pick for this week. One that we literally do our little 3-song listen to. When we all get
Yeah.
together, we do our 3 songs. Matt found a live performance on some weird ass website of this album and showed us a song off of that, and it was bananas. And I think I said, I was like, this completely changed my outlook on this album. I was already impressed, but this just like really, it was like tenfold after that. But yeah, what was said album?
Said album was an album from 2002 by a group called Béla, Fleck, and the Flecktones. Kind of a bluegrass, newgrass, whatever that term is. Jazz, fusion. I don't know. There's a lot of different things going on in this music, and they captured a great live performance from these guys. And they had a couple guest musicians in there as well. It was called Live at the Quick. Recorded at some hall called the Quick in Connecticut back in 2000. So it took a couple years for them to release it. But the song we watched was the first song, That Old Thing, the Earth Jam. And the banjo playing by Béla is insane. Victor Wooten scatting on the mic, playing bass at the same time.
Yeah.
All those musicians, Jeff Coffin with his long-ass goatee beard,
Yeah.
playing 2 saxophones at once. That was the craziest part about that performance. You're like, what is going
That was
on?
crazy, dude. He had like one that he was playing and another one just hanging on his side, like just strapped over his shoulder. Like, what the
But I stumbled upon this album back in, like, maybe a few years after high school, going to buy drugs from some random dude up in the South Hills, and we go up to his house, and him and his friends are in the living room watching that video,
Really?
the live performance, and they're not talking. And they're not moving, so we had to kind of sit there and watch it with them, like wait to get our drugs. But it was really cool because we're like, wow, these guys are great musicians. And then
Yeah.
after that, I found it on I think it was cassette tape and eventually on CD. But became a fan, even though I didn't really know a lot about the kind of music they were playing. The way they were doing it and how good they played together was amazing. Towards the end of the album, there's a throat singer,
Yeah.
Congar, and that was really cool to hear too. And I think that kind of captivated me and kind of made me appreciate music from around the world, all the different elements. What did you guys think?
Hell yeah, dude. That was fucking... Yeah, man. That was a hell of an intro for a fucking fantastic album, man.
I love that backstory of. I could see it, like a bunch of people just sitting there, like don't really want to be there, but you're like watching this, and then you're just, what the fuck is this? Because they're going crazy, dude. They're fucking nuts. It's so good too. Like everything about it is so good. The banjo player, like he has like a weird like electric like banjo that he has that it looks like has like a skin on it, like he has like a little thing for it, and the things that he does with that is nuts. it does not sound like a banjo.
It doesn't.
Like at some points, it sounds like an electric guitar.
That's what I thought. There was
crazy.
other guitars in the mix, but as we saw, it's just him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wild. Well, that's the thing. Is it's a fucking wild move to plug a banjo into a wah pedal.
Yeah.
He's over.
Yeah.
He's over there like Joe Satriani on a goddamn banjo. I'm like, this asshole. Like it's so badass though, because as you said, we were like, oh, like it has to be an electric guitar. You know, he's sitting there like wah 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 wah. You know, and it's completely. Even watching him play it, you're still like, it doesn't make sense because of how much it sounds like, you know, just an electric guitar.
Definitely.
Because he's shredding and he's doing like string bends on a banjo, which is wild. Like he's just completely. He's like mistreating the instrument, for lack of a better term. He's like, you're not playing it right. But it's badass.
Yeah, and then there's someone there with what's that thing called? Like that.
Oh, the drumitar. I
Yeah.
guess, the made instrument.
Yeah.
By Victor Wooten, Roy Wooten.
Yeah, it
his
looks.
brother. Yeah.
It's like little Tykes music instrument toys.
Yeah.
It
like
looks
taped
cheesy.
together. It's weird.
And I don't know what it was doing on stage or what it incorporated and how it made sounds, but he's up there for a reason. So
Yeah, it's got to be doing
he
something.
got to be doing something.
We got to find like isolated tracks.
Yeah, because
There's
he does
gotta be.
the singing that you hear towards the end of the album is Roy Wooten.
Really?
That one
Damn.
song towards the end, right after the throat singer does his thing.
Uh,
that song.
A Moment So
Yep,
Close.
that's him singing.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And speaking of Wooten's, Victor Wooten's got to be like easily one of the top 5 bassists of all time.
He's incredible.
He's insanely good.
He's so fast and fluid and able to, like, when I was saying he was scatting and playing at the same time, it was like he was just one instrument. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah, and like I had heard of Victor Wooten like when I started playing bass and stuff. Like, sorry, him.
Okay, I like him too. It's okay.
him and Les Claypool and like Billy Sheehan from Mr. Big were like the 3 really good bassists that I was like looking at, you know. And I was telling you, I was like, yeah, the bassist on this is really fucking good. And you're like, that's Victor Wooten. And I was like, are you serious? Like,
Get out of here.
and so that was insane. And he, you know, the scatting thing is unreal. And while he's doing that, he's like, like just throttling. And then, yeah, it's just like musical prodigies, you know.
Everybody on that stage
Yeah.
is some sort of gifted musician.
Super
And for them to do it all essentially in one take and at a live show just says how good they all were at that moment in time. Like,
Very.
nobody, you listen to it and you try to find something that maybe messed up a little bit, but they're all on point.
Yeah.
And they all kind of have their solos, like their time that they have, their like set time to just go off.
Yeah.
Like at one point, there's someone, I don't think it's the drums, but it's something drum related, that he's just like going off on it. Ovambo Summit, that song where he has like a minute long just solo, just slapping the drums, and it's fucking nuts. So yeah, they're all super talented. It surprised me when I was first hearing this because never heard of this. So I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? You know? And I hear that first song, that old thing, and it. At first, like when you said like banjo, when you brought it up, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like some banjo kazooie thing, or like something
right?
like
Kazooie.
silly." I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna be like the video game." Yeah. But I'm listening to this and I'm like, dude, what the fuck, man? It's so nuts, but it's so good.
You have
It's so
Banjo
good.
Kazoo written down too.
Yeah,
Not just make a Banjo Kazooie reference, dog.
bro.
You wrote it down.
Head
I
ass.
love it. I love it.
That's leave it to Jake, dude. Leave it to fucking Beaver. But
Banjo
no, it
Kazooie.
is.
Oh man, I'm tearing up.
You know, I gotta put a picture. I've got to put a bunch. We're gonna meme this episode. I'll
Banjo
put a
Kazooie,
picture.
bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the Banjo Kazooie.
You never know what to expect.
Really
when you
good
get Banjo.
soundtrack to
Yeah.
that video game. But this is like actual talent. Like everything that they're doing, that they're touching is crazy. The first whole half, like every song, like I could listen to this for hours. Like anyone can listen to this for hours. Because you'll always take something out of it that you'll get into a lot. Like, oh, that banjo was super nuts. Oh, that sax was crazy. And then you find out he was using 2 at the same time. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, it doesn't make any. It
Like they're just
truly.
fucking out of yeah, it's crazy.
And to think like they are like there's a lot of the track length on this, you know, is longer, is on the longer end because they're essentially a jam band. Like they toured with Fish for a while back in the day.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And so it's like that was my first impression. Like I was like, this is like a bluegrass jazz fusion jam band.
Yeah, they had Grateful Dead people following them at one point when they first started because it was that kind of music.
Yeah,
you know?
But it's like not like the because it's like jam bands. You know, you could be a fucking EDM jam band. You know, that's like a name tag or whatever.
Yeah.
That you can throw on really any genre. And so the fact that this was like not, you know, the classic rock kind of jam bandy shit, this was like some weird jazz fusion weird shit.
World music.
Yeah.
So many incorporations there.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. You know, as you guys said, you know, you mentioned how everybody kind of has like their shining moment, and two of those songs are like some of my favorite songs on the album. You know, Big Country, which is basically Béla Fleck going off, and then Amazing Grace, that improv one. Dude.
Gotta talk about that,
dude.
Yeah.
What are we? I'll let you guys go because there's like technical shit I want to go over with you.
I remember when we went and did the whole drug deal, and when I first heard this album, that was one of the parts that we watched. Still, I think we watched most of the video before we got our drugs.
It's like mind you, we just watched like the one song. The whole thing, it showed how long it was. It's like 2 hours long. So this guy was a bad drug dealer.
yeah.
But being able to see that Amazing Grace on stage, watching Victor Wooten do that, because I was starting to just play guitar and kind of getting into that, so that was fun to watch. But his performance is incredible, harmonics, and just the way he's able to flow and make that song a little bit more like, that song's more of like a church-going song, of course, but he makes it like an uppity kind of move around.
Yeah.
Does a really good job at it.
Exactly. He's legitimately doing pinch harmonics and playing Amazing Grace, which are like the unnatural. Guitars have 3 natural harmonics. It's the 5th, 7th, and 12th fret. And to play pinch harmonics, which are anything not in those, it's so hard to play. And he's just doing it in playing Amazing Grace and then turning it into this doom, doom, doom. You know, this fucking bop. It's insane what he's able to do in that. And you mentioned it because I had brought up the Victor Wooten thing to you before I got there in the album. You're like, just wait until you hear Amazing Grace, dude. And I was like, what?
You're like, huh?
And I just let it go to it, and I was like, yeah, that's like one of the coolest things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah. The Elastic Chem song too. Is that where you say it's like the throat singing?
Congar, yeah.
That's crazy too. Because when I was first hearing it, I'm like, what is this? But then I tried looking into it a little bit more. Like looking up like that, what that meant and stuff. I couldn't find a lot of info on it. But I like that they put that in because I haven't watched it, but I imagine in that show that they recorded, you'd have like mixed reactions, you know, like people are like,
sure, like it's all jazzy, and then all of a sudden Homeboy's on stage just not even opening his mouth and belching this thing down his throat.
And it's crazy what he does because like you hear it and kind of he has like vibrations with how it sounds. It's fucking crazy.
He was when he was alive, he was one of the leading throat singers. He was like a national treasure in his country and thought of that way because of his gift, essentially. So that's pretty cool.
The hell?
Yeah. Even people,
that's sick.
People like when you hear it on streaming, like you hear some people in the crowd just like, you know, chanting and stuff with him too and like cheering him on. And he does that for like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Which that must hurt.
Insane.
Yeah.
Can't imagine.
That's unreal talent. Again, you know, there's just the talent that's packed into this group. And I feel like I had never heard of these guys until you brought them up.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, dude, all these people got together just happened by happenstance,
right? And
just made this insane stuff.
They've got a decent catalog. I've never like dove into it at all. They've been around since '88. You know, the 4 members being Béla, Wooten, Jeff Coffin, the sax player, and then future man Roy Wooten, and have kind of mixed musicians throughout the career. But they are so good.
Yeah,
you can definitely hear it on this album.
Have you seen them live at all?
I haven't. I had tickets to see. Oh, actually, I'll take that back. I had tickets to see Victor Wooten back in the early 2000s. Never made it to that show. It was at the McDonald's. But I did see Jeff Coffin in California randomly at some performance at a college that he was doing with some kids choir.
What?
It was with my ex-wife and when my bosses took me, and I went because like, oh fucking yeah, Jeff Coffin from Béla Fleck. It's like a 2.5 hour show, and like me and my ex weren't like the hugest fans of like that kind of music, so that was the longest show of all time. It was cool for me to see Jeff Coffin play, but after a while I'm like, all right,
it was dragging.
Let's go, and they just kept going and going. So by the time we got out, it was like, still got to see him.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a hella cool. Just at some college with a kids choir.
Yeah.
That's rad.
My boss is like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "Who is it, Jeff?" Oh, I know that name, and so that's the only reason I went. Otherwise, I would not have gone.
Yeah, that's actually insane.
Yeah, but this is their 9th album, so of course, like I said a million times, they know what they're doing, and it comes through in this live performance. For them to do that spot on in one take that's crazy.
Yeah, just that the
saxophone, the 2 saxophone, and not to mess up at all. It sounds so good.
Yeah,
they have a lot of instruments too in the background. Like I was reading the Wikipedia page for this, and like the instruments they were using, it's fat. Like there's a lot of stuff that they use, and you could see it in that video too. They just have a lot of so they're like all like pretty much multi-instrumentalists. Like they know what they're doing, and they even did albums after this. I think I saw that they did one in 2010. I think around there.
Damn.
So yeah, they clearly know what they're doing.
Yeah, like Roy Wooten was in a cage of other instruments on stage. Like he's just surrounded. I'm like, what the hell? Like it's just fantastic, and to be able to do that live and everything, you know, it's just like, hey, we're just gonna rip this raw, and then the improvs that came out of it were some of my highlights of the album were those sick little improvs they were doing.
Those are really cool.
Yeah, it's.
And going back to Future Man or Roy Wooten, that drum guitar is basically an instrument that he created using the periodic table of elements.
What?
And to incorporate that into some sort of instrument or music, I don't know how he did it or how it works, but that's what I've read. And I remember hearing that right when I heard this album a long time ago. I'm like, what? How does he do that? So this guy is probably, between him and his brother, man, the brains behind those guys, the musicianship. Right? Damn. He is from the future.
And the Wooten brothers come from a musical family. Like his dad, like their dad was a musician of some sort, I believe, and then Victor started playing the bass when he was fucking 2 years old. Which is insane to try and wrap your head around. Yeah, can you imagine?
Was he playing it, or was he just like
some kids?
But if he was picking it up at that age, like
it's insane that to do that, and so it's like, these guys they got to be the most interesting one. I want to talk to both of them at the same time, because I feel like Future Man is a little out there, and Victor didn't know he had a British accent. I forgot that he was like a British.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's got a British accent, so that's hilarious. That's insane. And so, but I feel like he would just be like this really ethereal. Like he's got to be like such a deep thinker to be able to play for that long and do all of that stuff on stage. I feel like I don't know, fucking. Shout out Victor Wooten, dude.
So the instrument, that's why I saved this picture that he created, it's called a Roy L, based on his first name. And it resembles a piano. So I'm thinking it's that thing we saw on stage, but I'm not sure. But it incorporates the periodic table elements and the golden ratio. I'm not sure what that is. But
golden ratio. That rings a bell. I don't know what the fuck, dude.
It's so strange.
And the one on stage looked like it has this weird texture to it. It looks like paper mache.
Like he found it in a Toys R Us dumpster and then decided to reassemble it and had some duct tape.
Put it upside down. Yeah, like it looks all wonky. And
and it's got pink and green paint splatters on it. So he literally created this thing and then shot at it with a paintball gun. But he's got to be, like you said, man, he's got to be doing something. I don't know what the hell that thing does, but
I don't know what it's making as far as sounds go, or if it's controlling something MIDI device. I don't know.
Oh my! Victor's a robot and he's controlling. Roy's the mastermind. That's the thing. That's their gimmick.
All very talented people for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys liked it.
No, me too. I am floored.
I always have like one of those what the fuck moments every time we bring up a new album. This one I think beats it. Like this takes the cake for sure. Especially knowing all this now. That's nuts. That's crazy.
For sure. Shout out Matt doing it all again. Do we want to go into it, or do we have any final
I think we've kissed their ass enough.
I think so.
They're great.
Shout out.
Top threes for me, starting with honorable mention, the first song, That Old Thing, Earth Jam. We watched it live. It sets the tone. Béla's banjo playing is unique and so fast. And then 3, 2, 1. 3 for me would be Amazing Grace, just because of Victor Wooten doing his thing, improving essentially. Number 2 would be Hall of Mirrors. And then my favorite song was towards the end with Béla just doing his thing with the improv prelude from Bach. Really like that one.
That one was really nice.
Nice.
I'll go ahead and go next. Honorable mentions first for me. Also, Zona Mona was honorable mention number 1 for me. Really like that one. It was very nice and calming especially after that old thing. It kind of I like the saxophone to kind of start off the album. Big Country is my second honorable mention. Just good old biscuits and gravy banjo playing, dude. Hell yeah. Number 3 for me was Scratch and Sniff. Liked that one. Number 2, Amazing Grace. Just wooting on that. And the number 1 was Hall of Mirrors. Just really like that riff that they keep going back to in that one once it kind of establishes. So yeah, those are mine.
Nice. Honorable mention, Ovambo Summit. That solo of whatever that guy's doing is nuts. Top 3, I'm gonna go number 3, Big Country. 2, That Old Thing, because that's a nuts intro. And then Scratch and Swift.
Sniff.
Scratch and Sniff. My handwriting is so bad. But that song, Scratch and Sniff. It's so funky, man. It's so funky.
It is.
Hell yeah. Well, shout out, dude. Great album. Great pick, Matt. As per usual, bringing up something I would have never found on my own.
I would have never found it either.
Yeah, shout out that rando guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Béla Fleck and the Flecktones live at the Quick 2002. From 2002, which was Matt's pick for this week. We'll be right back after these messages for Jake's pick for this week. Peace out.
Pharrell looking like he's 12.
Okay, it's time now to move on and bring up.
As we rub ourselves silly.
I was fighting a burp.
Yeah. We just saw the score of the game and we're just so happy.
We're gonna go ahead and move right along and bring up Jake's pick for this week. One I'm pretty stoked to talk about. Also, I'm just stoked to talk about all 3 of these picks. Let's just fucking be honest with ya. Big fan of this week's albums. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you got, brother?
Yeah, so the Neptunes clones came out in 2003. And it sounds like it.
Yeah.
It sounds so dated to early 2000s music. It's so good. But yeah, producer duo Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo. This is their debut album. This, I guess, is their official, them too. Even though they had been producing for a long time and working with a bunch of other artists. But this is kind of like a collaboration that they did for a lot of... or not collaboration, compilation of like a bunch of songs that they did for different artists. So yeah, they have the feature list is crazy. They have songs that they did with Nas, or not with Nas specifically. He did like a
feature
spin off of that song. Yeah. I think the original with Pusha T. But they have clips, Jadakiss, Busta, Jay-Z, ODB, like a bunch of collaborations on this.
You mean Big Beetlejuice?
Big Beetlejuice, yeah.
ODB is Big Beetlejuice. Fucking go watch the clip of him recording his part for this. It's the same thing. And then look up Beetlejuice rapping. It's the same thing.
Beetlejuice rapping, dude. No, but yeah, what do you guys think about it?
It's... You couldn't have put it more perfectly. It is 2003 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's, there's, and I'll go into a little bit of that more later, but yeah, it does, it's like young-ish Jay-Z, Pharrell. It's got the little electric guitar riff samples throughout it, It's got fucking Nelly on it.
Yeah. Nelly in his prime.
Prime Nelly, like...
Which is weird to say and think about.
I know, right?
Like,
yeah.
Hey, I'll say right now, I fucking love Country Grammar. Country Grammar's a fantastic album.
Country Grammar is good.
That's a great album.
But yeah, you got Prime, Nelly, Khalees, it is legitimately like Mom's taking me to soccer practice. This is like would be playing. you know, in another world, you know, but it's so well, it's like really a testament to like Pharrell, really, you know, and you know, Chad Hugo's fantastic as well.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, dude, Pharrell, you mentioned it as we were sitting down to record this part. You're like, Pharrell looking 12 years old. It's hilarious, and he's making music that was like iconic. You know, they ended up doing milkshakes for Khalees as well, which is one of the biggest songs of the early 2000s. And this is, you know, them doing, you know, making the beats and all that shit, and then producing and mastering like punk rock esque shit. It's weird.
Throw some rock in there.
Yeah, it's so, it just really is a testament, you know, like, hey, these guys are well versed and good at, you know, rap music and also have an ear for mastering, you know. So I loved it.
Yeah, they're a great duo, and I didn't know much about either one of them until you brought this album up. So it gave me a chance to kind of dive into that. The features are great, like you said, on this. But they're gifted as fuck. You know, they met when they were young at like a camp for the gifted, and just started collaborating since then. And I didn't know they got started so early. In the early 90s, they've had hits and just kept building and building. And I know this was kind of like a compilation to see, like, could they tell who was making which song? And so they were kind of battling each other, which is a kind of a cool, like, is it Hugo? Is it Pharrell? Which one's doing it?
Yeah.
And so they were kind of throwing a spin on it for the fans to figure out, hey, do you like it all? Do you like one over the other? Which I thought was a cool album concept for the most part.
Very. That is, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started diving down last night. I was like, what? Because I didn't realize they made so many hits. Like Shake Your Rump from Rex and Effect was their first song they did in high school. And then after that, to just continually work with, you know, Backstreet Boys and all these huge people that we might not be into, but these are huge bands from the late 90s, early 2000s, and they're just like, yep. And then later on they go and, you know, Pharrell Williams is one of the biggest producers ever.
Yeah.
Honestly, whether it's the movies he's behind or just the things he's done by himself or with Chad Hugo, it's amazing that I never even knew that. So that was my biggest takeaway from this album, was just appreciating all the music they've created together and helped make, even if I don't like that genre or those songs. That's amazing talent.
They're definitely a staple, not only in like hip hop or R&B or whatever you want to call it, but music in general. Like they've done so much work with so many people, like Madonna, Snoop Dogg, Nelly, like Hot in Here, like you know, like just massive songs. Justin Timberlake, they were all over the place in the 2000s. And if you want to talk about like a producer's producer, like this is them.
For sure.
So everything that they were touching, man, it was like, I read something that in the 2000s, like they had produced around 43% of the songs on the radio.
That's insane. That's insane.
That were like playing in the radio. I don't know how accurate that is.
It's probably pretty damn accurate.
But that might be true, because they were making songs for everyone. Britney Spears, like so. And they really built off this brand, like, you know, doing music like that, and just hit after hit, everything they touched was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And then they even went off, like in this album they have NERD, that's like their band also that they have.
Okay.
That they kind of try going towards rock style, so that's why you kind of in this album you hear like 2 or 3 songs that are
like
kind of
3 in a row, that little chunk there.
Yeah, that's them like kind of, you know, experimenting with that genre also.
Yeah.
So yeah, super talented, not only producers but musicians too.
Yeah, and to go back to you talking about like how they were, you know, just unknowingly producing, you know, almost half of what was on the radio. I remember when that song Happy came out that Pharrell did, and people were like, who's this Pharrell guy? And I was like, oh, I know of him through, I found Pharrell through Tyler the Creator, because he featured on I Fucking Hate You off of Wolf.
That's right.
And I was like, I like that song, let me go into Pharrell. And I was like, dude, he's been producing for so long, and everybody, when that song came out, they're like, who the hell is this Pharrell guy? I was like, you've heard his shit, like literally throw a dart. And it's like,
you've heard it.
Now he's like, he's making a comeback, you know, with like producing stuff still with Tyler the Creator, featuring on a bunch of shit. And Chad Hugo's probably doing the same, just like in the behind the scenes of everything. Still.
I heard they were back together as of 2020. So
fuck yeah,
that's kind of cool.
That's
not sure what they're
sick.
working on, but that'd be cool if we get.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen them like their end credits, like and especially, and also writing too.
Yeah,
like Pharrell, he has a lot of writing credits in a lot of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's crazy to think that they were still so young when they were doing all of this, and just everything that was coming out was just massive all of a sudden. Like at the time, they were doing so good that they started a label, Star Trek, and they had signed Clips, Kellis, Snoop Dogg, like all these people were in their record label, so that's why they were just bumping out songs with them. Like that Snoop Dogg song that's produced by the Neptunes, what's it called? Drop It Like It's Hot. Like, you know, like everything they did was just fucking would get massive. And something cool that I was looking into also, Pharrell, he was on Drink Champs. It's like a podcast.
Yeah, great
and
podcast.
I was rewatching it again, and he talked about how Frontin', that song, he initially wanted to make that for Prince.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
He wanted to make that for Prince, and like he would send it to him, but he turned it down.
Damn.
But for Prince, and then he also was trying to send songs to Michael Jackson. So nuts, dude.
That's insanity.
Insane.
And just to go back to like the influence of him is, if you guys if you've watched, or if you do watch the Genius documentary about Kanye, the 3-part docuseries, they're talking, it's like when Kanye's making Jesus Walks, and Pharrell happens to come by the studio and is like basically gives him the seal of approval, and Kanye was like losing his mind. He's like, fucking Pharrell just like told me that, and it was like, that was like 2003 or 4 when that song came out. And so it's like, dude, Pharrell's been
He's already
the guy.
godlike.
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's like still so early, because like this had just come out, and he was like, dude, I love the fucking Neptunes, and then he comes in and like, you know, gives him the, hey, you're fucking killing it. That's insane, you know, to be that influential for so long and behind the scenes is insane.
Yeah, even nowadays, I like that he's still very much present,
Involved.
like in music and stuff. He's even getting into fashion. Like he did a fashion show like a couple of months ago that they performed frontin', him and Jay-Z, which was cool. But yeah, it's very much still, when you think about producers and you think of like the 2000s, this is the face of it.
Right.
Like I think they just got inducted like a couple years ago to like Hall of Fame of something for a musical. I read, which much deserved, because everything that they were doing was like it hadn't been seen before. And it still really isn't.
It's not consistently. Like having so many hits
and
for so many different artists.
Right. And they started like a wave, you know, like I mentioned that like funky guitar sound samples that are throughout this album. That was like the thing for like the next 2 to 3 years of, you know, radio, was that little funky guitar riff, but like talking about baby making, doing the horizontal hokey pokey. R&B singers are using a little bit of like you know, everybody was doing that. So
you hear their beat, and they all kind of have that same funkiness to them.
There's a little something. They have a very recognizable sound. You're like, that's 100% Neptunes.
To like their 4-count intro that Pharrell always does. Or it's cool also that this album, it has like different aspects. It has, you know, hip hop, R&B. It has a reggae song on it with Jada Kiss. Some rock influence. So yeah, it's kind of a good mixture of everything that they were doing at the time. And I want to bring up more of Pharrell's stuff. Like he has a solo album in my mind that's really good, and then NERD is really good also. But yeah, this is like songs that I feel like everyone has heard. So it's a good way to step into kind of their genre.
I love the clips and Pusha, like all over it is very nice.
Pusha, his my favorite lyric of his is on Hot. He says, flow more sicker, so much shake in the street, they measure my weight in Richter.
Oh my god.
Measure my weight like on the Richter scale.
That's fucking sick.
That's cool.
It's fucking nuts.
I love that. Yeah, and it was like, you know, Pusha T, like the fact that he's on this, that's another artist that, you know, people really didn't Like the mainstream didn't really recognize until he also did Trouble on My Mind. That was my first introduction to Pusha back in like 2013.
Yeah.
And he's been, him and Clips, you know, we have a full episode, or not a full episode. We cover Lord Willing on an episode of this, so we've definitely given them their flowers, but this is, again, same time frame, and Pusha's killing it. So he's also, you know, under the radar at this point and fucking killing it, and then had the same like Pharrell effect. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. No, everyone that they were collaborating with it made their career in one way or another.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake, Nelly. Like, I hate to admit it, but that Nelly song's kind of good.
No.
The beat's really good.
It's one of my honorable mentions. I love that song.
Yeah.
Speaking of, shall we?
Let's, yes.
Or do you have... I didn't pull lyrics. I wanted to, but the Busta feature, we could, to start the album off.
That beat's really good.
That beat is really good. Very very Busta, and also very Pharrell beat as well. It's just oozing with all of that. It's like, yeah, this would be an early 2000s Busta Rhymes beat.
Right. I do like also the ODB song. I like that he was in this.
Pop shit.
A year before, everything happened, which is fucking awesome too. R.I.P.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you guys want to get into top threes?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
I'll kick it off. Honorable mention. I'm gonna go "Light Your Mic on Fire" with Busta.
Does it light your mic on fire or light your ass on fire?
My handwriting is so bad, bro. It's ass.
Ass turned into mic?
Somehow turned into mic. Yeah.
Holy hieroglyphs, Batman.
Maybe that
ask
like
yourself.
Yeah, I swear I'm not a doctor. It's so bad.
Walking there like a fucking
Play
doctor.
Yeah. Light Your Ass on Fire is honorable mention. Top three, Popular Thug with Nas. I think this version I like more than the Pusha version. It Blows My Mind. And then Frontin'.
Nice.
I gotta love Frontin'. That song's so good.
Yeah, honorable mention for me. Blaze of Glory, that kind of starts the album off for me. Then 3 Frontin', 2 Hot Damn. And then I like the Snoop feature is my favorite song. I was kind of bummed that wasn't on Spotify, but thanks for showing that in the chat. It's good to hear that. And I was like, oh shit, love this song.
Yeah. That's a fantastic one. Honorable mentions for me, as I mentioned, and then Hot Damn. That was a very Pharrell on that track was like this is textbook Pharrell. And then number 3 for me was Light Your Ass on Fire. Just went over that one. Number 2 for me was Hot. Really liked that one. And number 1 was Pop Shit, actually.
Ooh,
really,
nice.
I really like ODB on that one.
Yeah,
and it's got like that beat. It's just like, dun, 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 dun. I don't know why. It's like kind of got like this griminess to it, and like almost a little chaotic. And
with ODB on it, it's gonna be a little hectic.
A little hectic, and ODB comes in and fucking delivers, man. And I was telling y'all about it. I'll show you after we cut. But it's like Pharrell and ODB in the studio, and ODB had just recorded his rap verse, but Pharrell wanted a hook out of him, and he's like, just give it something. And ODB's like, no, I want you to be on it. I want it to have your thing. They started, kind of bickering back and forth, and Pharrell gave him a suggestion, and ODB took it and ran, and it became that intro. It's really good. It's on YouTube. Just look up ODB, the Neptunes, and it's like a little 1-minute clip. It's fantastic. And again, unfortunately, that was like right before, unfortunately, ODB passed away. So it's like it's a fucking touching video,
Yeah.
Because ODB had also like just gotten out of prison not long prior to all of that, so it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think this album is really encapsulates the early 2000s like perfectly with everything 100%. In it.
Yeah, it is very reminiscent. It took me back to that time for sure. I was like, dude, this is like that Nelly song came on, and I was like, dude, bro,
let me go listen to go pump some Nelly.
I was like sitting on my bed just. Man.
Man. Nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. But hell yeah, man. The Neptunes clones, Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo, released in 2003, and goddamn, does it sound like it.
Hot damn.
Which was Jake's pick for this week. We'll be right back to wrap this bad boy up and talk about my pick for this week. Peace. Alrighty, it's time to round up the wagons and take this baby on home with my pick for this week, which was Live the Dream by Ramshackle Glory, released in 2011. It says it's a live album, at least the tracks say live, but I don't know if they were just like in a studio and just did them all like jam-esque instead of like, okay, here's the guitar tracking. Anyway, some good old folk punk from 2011, kind of when that was really in its prime. Pat the Bunny, one of the biggest figures in that genre of music, his last band that he did really before he stopped playing music. So yeah, I love him, obviously. What did you guys think?
Very interesting.
Yeah,
I love this genre because each time that you bring up someone from it, it's all different. Like it has that similar musicianship, but the lyrical content I think changes. And this album specifically, the lyrics are what blew me away. They're just so like either aggressive, poetic, both one and the same. And he's just like, he's a very interesting individual.
yeah.
And he's able to demonstrate that with his songwriting, which is really cool. And it makes you think about things a little bit too, because I was re-listening to songs and be like, what did he just say? And I love lyrics like that when they can kind of make you stop and think. So this is a fun album. Where did you find these guys? Is it just because you started listening to this genre and you just
Same guy. Shout out my boy Pat, my buddy from high school. He showed me AJJ, and I was really into them. I brought them up early on in the podcast. They're still my favorite folk punk band, but he was like, if you like these guys, check out Pat the Bunny and anything that he's done. And so he introduced me to him and his line of work, mainly Wingnut Dishwashers Union, Ramshackle Glory, obviously, and Johnny Hobo and the Freight Trains. All three are fucking fantastic groups.
Great names.
He's done other stuff. He's done solo work. His Wikipedia page is literally like basically one main page, and then there's like 7 different sub headlines in it for different bands he was in. And like I said, he's like one of the biggest figures in that scene, and it goes to show his songwriting's impeccable. His, from a lyrical standpoint, these songs, I've laughed. There's songs on this that I've laughed and cried to, like We Are All Compost and Training in particular. It moves you. It's like you think of, the first time you hear it, you laugh at the world needs more spinach line, but then you listen to it on the right or wrong day, however you want to look at it, it'll fucking make you cry, and we were talking about it, Never Coming Home's the same way. That song is, is fucking gorgeous. But yeah, I found my buddy Patrick, showed me AJJ, and then this was like the next stop.
That's cool.
Yeah. No, this was good too. It had also that similar like AJJ feel. And I don't really listen to folk punk a whole lot, so this is a good also stepping stone to like kind of the same genre but a different style of it. Because it is similar in a way, but it's also different. I was watching like a performance that he did. It was just him, like just playing guitar. And you can hear his voice, and it's really good. It's good. Like I feel like this album doesn't do it its justice. I don't know what like recording things that they had or how they did it. At some points, it sounds like they're using like a crappy mic because it's kind of like a lot of filler. Yeah, and it kind of has that feel, but I think that adds to the aesthetic of it. Like
it's part of the charm. Yeah,
like it feels very like backyard band-esque, like they just kind of all just did this on their own, came together, but it's good. Like everything about it is really good. I like that it's short and sweet. Like it's not too long of an album. And yeah, I mean it's a good intro to folk punk. That low qual, like at some points also you hear like his voice cracks and everything, so it's very natural. Like it's not very like high, like they use a lot of production into it, but that adds to how it feels, how it sounds.
Right. For a folk punk album, it's actually like mastered pretty well. And that's why I'm like, I don't understand how it's a live album, because there's like no crowd noise. And it's like sound studio quality. So that's why I'm like, I think they were just
Like you were
live
saying,
jamming.
yeah, they have like maybe 1 or 2 microphones, and they're all just in the same room.
Yeah, but I kind of think that's funny that it's like this little misleading thing. It's like, no, we were live, and I was like, damn, this is like insanely well produced.
Yeah,
And it's like
it's got like a lo-fi vibration to it in the studio, and it works really well.
And like Pat the Bunny talking occasionally, like before like intro and songs and stuff is a nice touch as well. There's a lot of instrumentation going on in this as well.
There's got banjo, accordion.
Yeah, exactly. And drumming, he's playing, this was his only full electric band that he was in. His other ones were, very much more on the folk side of things. But this was like the first kind of full electric band that he had. And it's just so great. And the songs are all over the place, like From Here to Utopia is like we were all in here just like stomping our feet listening to that earlier, jamming out to it. And then there's some, as we've said, some great songwriting all throughout. If you listen to the words on that song, it's insane. The lyricism on this album is probably the thing that impresses me the most. Insane musicianship as a whole, but the songwriting on it is really something special to me personally. He was an interesting dude. He's still alive, but he was.
And we were talking about how it's hard to find this album on vinyl because of either the limited production or how many were made at the time, or it's just not available now.
Yeah, which is
sad.
Which is so sad because it is one of those, like, folk punk is already that as a genre, as a whole.
It's like very niche.
It's very niche. Not many people listen to it at all. And then it's like, oh, the fact that something is produced or like pressed and sold is unreal in and of itself. And then it's like, of course there's like 4 that ever got made, and one of them's like $350. No thanks, I'll listen to it on streaming. As much as badass as it would be to own that, but it's just got, I think sitting here talking with you guys about it, the one word that I would use to describe it is that it has charm. It does have a little bit of like a charm. It's kind of like a comfort album for me, in a way, but also I didn't know what I was going to pick until I got to your place for last episode. I was like, I have no idea. And then I was like, I listened to this on the way over and I was like, no, let's get a little folk punk out of the way. And it's, I don't know. I feel like I have a deep appreciation for it, So listening to it the past 2 weeks has been really fun. I was like, God damn, and it got me back into. I went on like a whole folk punk thing this week, basically, listening to Johnny Hobo as I sent you guys, all sorts of shit.
Yeah, I saw that he's in a lot of there's a lot of groups that he was doing.
Yeah,
he's not he's not still playing, is he? Right?
No, he quit. He quit music back in like 2016 or something.
Oh, okay.
Or 2011. I can't remember. It was like, I think it was right after this. This was like his last thing he did, basically. But yeah, he just highly recommend checking out his other stuff as well, because that'll really show you that'll give you a deeper appreciation for him, but also, as you were mentioning, it's like a good introduction to this subgenre or this genre of music, and if you just dive into anything he's done, it's a good representation of what the whole thing's like, because he was in so many bands. But yeah, specifically the other 2, Wingnut Dishwashers Unit and Johnny Hobo, are like the 2 I would recommend.
I wonder why he left music in general.
He was pretty fucked up.
Maybe he didn't believe in a lot of things anymore that he was saying, or
something. I wonder why too, because it was so, to be like bam, 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 bam,
and have so many different things going on. And be like, nope, I'm done. And walk away. But I guess you grow up a little bit sometimes, and but that's what's great about musicians. They're able to leave that lasting mark, and then even if they go do something completely different, you still have that piece they made forever.
For sure. That's what I was like trying to find the words to say something along that line, so thank you.
I really like, also, just to bring this up, like the song titles.
Yeah, always.
There are some great titles.
And always. The lyrics in it too. Like it's clever that he comes up with that.
Yeah.
Like More About Alcoholism.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that song. And that title it's like, oh, nice.
Your heart is a muscle the size of your fist.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to somebody asked me what the picks were for this episode, and I said Live the Dream by Ramshackle Glory, and they're like, that band name, what the fuck is that? And I said, you should hear the song titles. And if y'all remember from when we brought up AJJ, they're like, that's just a folk punk thing. It's just, they're either long or they don't make sense, or they're both.
Yeah, kind of wacky, but it's funny.
Yeah, and then you, especially for this album, you know, it's like you hear shit like that, or like read a song title like that, and then it actually ends up being something really meaningful. You know, you're like, all right.
Yeah. He even did like albums after this too, which is cool. I want to look into that. Would you recommend those, like his newer stuff?
Yeah, any of it really.
Because it looks like this one was like just of the group at least. Like the bigger album that they had. Yeah,
anything that he did really is at least worth a listen. But the 3 that I've mentioned a couple of times, with them included, is like the top of his stuff. His solo work's good too. Yeah. Shall we top 3 it up?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Honorable mentions for me of Ballads and Barricades. Love that song. You know, good old folk punk song about starting an uprising. It's so on the nose. It's amazing. You know, that line, what are we going to do on November 3rd to make sure there's not another election 4 years from now? I botched the fuck out of that, but something along that line is just so funny. The other one for me, Never Coming Home, just he sings with a lot of emotion on that song, and that one will strike you the right way too. Number 3 for me, Your Heart Is a Muscle the Size of Your Fist. Just the storytelling in that is the imagery in it is very nice for me. Number 2, We Are All Compost and Training. Great. The world does need more spinach. Number 1, From Here to Utopia. That just the fast-paced feel of that song, and you know, you get it's got a very much like I called it Sea of Thieves music earlier.
Yeah.
Fucking Xbox game. But it does have like a very at sea on a ship kind of feel.
And at the end, like the accordion having that little moment.
She's shredding in that one, and the line in particular where he's like, I've been listening to Minor Threat records all day, and I'm singing along as I tie off, and, like talking about shooting junk while while listening to Minor Threat. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. But yeah, so From Here to Utopia is my number 1.
Nice. Go ahead, sir.
If I'm gonna go honorable mention, Your Heart Is a Muscle the Size of Your Fist. Top 3, From Here to Utopia. More About Alcoholism, and then Never Coming Home.
Hell yeah.
When I watched that video of him singing that song, like his version of it without like the band or whatever, it was a lot better. So I was like, oh, that's.
If you send that to the group, I want to see that, because
Yeah.
I think I might know which one you're talking about, but I didn't watch it. I think I might have saw the thumbnail, but hell yeah.
Honorable mention for me, More About Alcoholism. Just a great song title. And then number 3, We Are All Compost and Training. Again, these song titles are so good. Number 2, Never Coming Home. And my top track was Bitter Old Man. And just to go back to the first song, is called First Song.
Yeah.
That's just funny.
The last song is the first song.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Hell yeah. Well, that was Live the Dream by Ramshackle Glory, my pick for this week, which came out in 2011. Great piece of work in the very long discography of Mr. Pat the Bunny. Shout out to him. We're gonna go ahead and move away from this episode's albums. They've been fucking great to talk about, though. And we're gonna go ahead and introduce the albums for episode 60, and that'll lead us right on into the hip hop bracket. So we'll be right back. It's Whatchu Spinnin', episode 59. When are we doing soundtracks? We gotta do soundtracks.
We do.
Dude.
That'll be fun.
Fucking Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Tarzan.
Dude. Huh?
Tarzan.
Bro.
Phil Collins.
Dude. If you don't like the Tarzan soundtrack by Phil Collins, eat a dick. Okay.
Don't watch anymore. Yeah, just gotta do something.
No. Fucking You'll Be in My Heart, one of the best songs ever written. Shout out Philly. Shout out Philly C. Anyway, that's been a peek behind. That's a little peek at how the sausage is made, baby gal. Let's go ahead and kind of introduce what's coming next episode. We'll go in the order that we talked today, which means that you're up.
I'm first. I'm gonna start diving down a metal rabbit hole for the next few episodes after the bracket episodes. But to start, I'm going with 2016 album called Magma by a band called Gojira.
Oh, fucking Gojira, dude.
Gojira means Godzilla in Japanese, I believe.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
But I think you guys will like that. It's accessible metal and not too guttural for those who don't like that. So, but again, I'm starting off slow and it's gonna kind of get darker.
Yeah. It already looks cool.
Yeah. Hell yeah, Gojira's. I don't know if I've heard that album, but I know I've listened to their stuff before. They're kick ass. And Mr. Jake,
I'm gonna go with some indie.
Okay. Nice.
Songs of Hers by Hers, 2017. Yeah, it's like some indie.
Hell yeah.
A little bit of indie rock.
Hell yeah. And I don't know my pick either. But to kind of, get us ready for, because episode 60 will come out right around October 1st, at least the last weekend of September, really. Mm-hmm. I am going with Bloody Kisses by Type O Negative.
You asshole.
Great goth metal album from, let's see, when did that come out?
Say 92, but
94, I think. Let's see. Hold please.
1994.
Yeah. Bloody Kisses, Type O Negative. Great goth metal, perfect for spooky season. Wanted to bring it up just in time, so here you go.
And before Jake got here, we're like, who's going to bring up this album? You or me? And motherfucker, you brought it up.
I said it's got to happen at some point. It came on in the shower today, and I was singing.
It's a sign.
I was singing. I was like, yeah, that's got to be it. And then I planned a whole gimmick because I also wasn't sure. I was going to bring up Rob Zombie, as I did. But I'm going to be in the same boat as you, actually. I'm going to be getting into some darker, kind of spookier stuff because I got to make up for lost time because we'll be doing bracketology through October.
That's right.
So, yeah, it's going to be, kind of metal for a little bit from me at least. So I'm interested. Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
I might toss in some other stuff, but yep. Magma by Gojira, Songs of Hers by Hers, and Bloody Kisses by Type O Negative is what will be coming at you next time for episode 60 of Whatchu Spinnin. Thank you so much for stopping by as per usual. Be a friend, tell a friend about this show, comment, like, subscribe, all that good pandering horse shit. As per usual, I'm your host Dorian, joined as always by my brothers in crime, Matt and Jacob. Say goodbye to the people. We want to thank you for joining. Take it easy, stay hydrated, stay warm.
Go Ducks.
Fucking Ducks.